Backbush TV, like and subscribe, and big up to all of my subscribers. But today we're gonna just jump straight into this, the rising and the falling of Shabba ranking career. You know what I mean? When the man go against them people, eh? You know what I mean? Them LG people, and you don't know, them crumbling career in a sense. But Backbush TV, no found it there, I watch the thing, but do not subscribe. Please subscribe to the thing and help the channel to grow. Backbush TV, like and subscribe. Let's check out the little piece of the rising and the falling of Shabba ranking career after them LG people there. You know what I mean? Chuck on it. Backbush TV, like and subscribe. We're there. Mad.
The focus remained primarily and intensely on Shabba Ranks. His mainstream success, Grammy credentials, and crossover appeal had made him the perfect symbol of everything activists were fighting against. His destruction would send an unmistakable message to the entire music industry about the consequences of crossing organized opposition groups. As one industry insider candidly observed, the situation hurt Shabba Ranks far more than it hurt Buju Banton, because Buju was just emerging as an artist, but everything stopped completely for Shabba Ranks. The contrast was stark and telling. The established star lost everything, while the underground artist continued building his career. The financial impact was absolutely devastating and comprehensive. Concert revenues disappeared overnight as venues canceled bookings. Album sales plummeted as retailers removed his music from prominent displays. Licensing deals for his extensive catalog dried up as companies avoided association with controversy. The man who had been commanding six-figure performance fees was suddenly reduced to playing small venues in markets that hadn't banned him. He was unceremoniously dropped by Epic Records in 1996, and industry observers noted that his career never fully recovered from the controversy. The label that had invested millions promoting his crossover success cut him loose without ceremony, fanfare, or explanation to shareholders about their failed investment. What made the situation particularly cruel and hypocritical was the selective enforcement of standards. While Shabba faced complete career destruction, other artists with similar or worse content continued thriving without organized opposition. Hip-hop artists regularly used homophobic slurs and promoted violence without facing sustained boycotts or systematic exclusion from mainstream platforms.
I think it hurt Shabba Ranks more than it hurt Buju Banton. I mean, Buju Banton was just emerging, but everything stopped for Shabba Ranks.
The crucial difference was that Shabba had been caught on camera, providing activists with perfect footage for their campaign. His televised statements created visual evidence that could be endlessly replayed, quoted, and used to justify ongoing opposition to his career. Meanwhile, Shaggy, another prominent Jamaican dancehall artist, appeared on the same British television show just weeks later. When directly asked about Shabba's controversial comments, he diplomatically distanced himself by stating those were Shabba's personal views and that he didn't share the same opinions. The response demonstrated how other artists were quickly learning to navigate the dangerous new landscape that Shabba's downfall had created. The industry message was unmistakably clear to every artist paying attention: cross-organized activist groups, and face total professional destruction. Shabba Ranks had become a cautionary example, a warning to other performers about the devastating consequences of controversial statements or positions. His systematic blacklisting wasn't just punishment for past behavior, it was a deterrent designed to control future artistic expression. The same entertainment industry that had previously celebrated his authenticity, street credibility, and uncompromising artistic vision now demanded complete conformity to evolving social standards. The powerful voice that had spoken directly for Kingston's streets was being permanently silenced by corporate boardrooms in Manhattan. Epic Records released a greatest hits compilation in 1999, systematically squeezing final profits from his extensive catalog, while he remained largely invisible to mainstream audiences who had once celebrated his music. The company that had once aggressively promoted him as reggae's future was now treating him as a profitable piece of history. By 2000, Shabba Ranks had transformed from international superstar into a cautionary tale whispered about in music industry boardrooms. The first dancehall artist to win a Grammy, the genre's first legitimate crossover superstar who had proven Caribbean music could conquer global markets, was now performing at small clubs for devoted fans who remembered his glory days. The mainstream success that had required years of grinding work to build had evaporated in mere months. His estimated net worth had plummeted to approximately $1 million, a substantial amount for most people, but merely a fraction of what he could have earned if his career had continued its meteoric upward trajectory. Financial analysts estimated he had lost tens of millions in potential earnings from canceled tours, terminated endorsement deals, and abandoned recording contracts. The man who had been positioned to become reggae's biggest international star since Bob Marley was struggling to maintain basic relevance in an industry that had moved on without him. But Shabba refused to disappear entirely from the music scene that had defined his entire adult life. He made sporadic comeback attempts that generated brief excitement among longtime supporters, but failed to restore his mainstream presence or commercial viability. His 2007 appearance on Busta Rhymes' Clear the Air featuring Akon provided momentary hope, demonstrating that some established artists were willing to work with him despite industry pressure. His 2011 single None of Dem on Big Ship's Pepper Rhythm showed he could still deliver compelling performances when given opportunities. Each project generated enthusiastic responses from core fans who had never abandoned him, but the mainstream media attention and commercial success remained frustratingly elusive for someone who had once dominated international charts. The hip-hop generation that had grown up listening to his music during their formative years began paying tribute to his influence and legacy. In 2013, rising star ASAP Ferg released a song simply titled Shabba, featuring the legendary artist in the music video alongside contemporary stars like Migos and Busta Rhymes. For younger listeners discovering Caribbean music, Shabba had become a historical legend rather than a contemporary artist. Meanwhile, Buju Banton, whose controversial song had initiated the entire international incident, eventually took the significant step of removing Boom Bye Bye from his official catalog in 2019. His public statement acknowledged that he recognized the song had caused substantial pain to listeners, as well as to his fans, family, and himself personally. However, this gesture of reconciliation came 27 years after the song's problematic re-release, and long after the irreversible damage to Shabba's career had been completed. The broader dancehall and reggae community had gradually adapted to new realities and expectations. Many artists began signing formal pledges through initiatives like the Reggae Compassionate Act, making public commitments to refrain from performing homophobic songs and making discriminatory statements. The industry had essentially learned to police itself proactively, rather than face organized boycotts and systematic career destruction. But for Shabba personally, these important lessons and industry changes came far too late to salvage his mainstream career. The critical moment when compromise and strategic adaptation might have saved his commercial viability had passed in a British television studio 25 years earlier. His principled refusal to back down from deeply held religious convictions had ultimately cost him everything he had worked decades to achieve.
Once he was sat down and was exposed to people that had different lifestyles and really looked and said, you know what, you're nothing but a man that just happens to do something different from me.
Today, Shabba Ranks lives quietly in New York City with his wife Michelle and their 2 sons, maintaining a low profile that contrasts sharply with his former international celebrity status. He married Michelle in 1992. Ironically, the same year his career imploded on live television, and has largely avoided public attention since then. Occasionally, he surfaces for rare interviews or small performances, but the days of Grammy Awards, international tours, and mainstream media attention are definitively behind him. The man who once proudly declared, "I am Shabba," now exists primarily as a memory and symbol, representing how quickly fame can disappear when an artist refuses to bend to industry pressure and social expectations. His story remains one of the most dramatic rises and falls in music history, a powerful reminder that in the modern entertainment business, a single moment of controversy can define an entire legacy. His biggest secret wasn't hidden in private conversations or buried in legal contracts. It was exposed on live international television for millions to witness. The unshakable belief that religious conviction and personal authenticity mattered more than career survival and commercial success. In an industry fundamentally built on compromise and careful calculation, Shabba Ranks chose unwavering authenticity over strategic adaptation. The price he paid was everything he had spent his lifetime working to achieve. Anyway, that's it for this video,
But Bush
folks.
TV, them boy, they try to dictate man life and try to tell man how to sing song. You see me, I say you can't even fight them. Modern time, you know. But Bush TV, like and subscribe. That was the bidding, you know what I mean, of Shabba Ranks' career, rising and falling. But them can't stop, man. Bush TV.